I'm calling them Stu drops because they're straight up QAnon style posts. You know what I mean? Cryptic, says a lot without really saying anything, leads everyone to follow in this like righteous mission that he's on. It's very much QAnon stuff. So I'm calling them Stu drops. So welcome to Stu Drop 4. Okay, this is the 4th big social media event that Stu has had. He posted on LinkedIn and Facebook, where he tends to, these long, you know, very carefully thought out, very carefully worded, although there is something in here that does make you question how thoughtful is it, and we'll get to that in a second. These posts, one of them on LinkedIn apparently LinkedIn has a character limit that I've never heard of anybody reaching. I've never heard of anybody reaching the LinkedIn character limit for a post. So the full post is available on Facebook, and his accounts are totally public, by the way. They have thousands of views and shares and all that. So we're going to read the first post off of Facebook, then the second post off of LinkedIn, just so you guys are tracking that you can find this information both places. And then there was a third post, a follow-up post, and this is how you know that it is game over for Stu Scheller. Fear cannot exist in the pursuit of love and truth. I believe in love. I believe in America. I believe in strength. I believe in honesty. I believe I'm ready to go to jail based on these beliefs, which he said before. He's more than willing, more than ready to go to jail for his beliefs. He says, first you pulled the chain of retirement. I broke that chain. Then you pulled the chain of my family stability. That chain also broke. All you have left is the threat of court-martial. It's a felony, Stu, in quotes here. No one wants that. It will ruin your whole life, but in quotes. But you never understood me, he says. Stu goes on to say, I'm comfortable going back to Cincinnati and working at Applebee's again. Do you want freedom fries with that? Effective immediately upon your receipt below. He's talking to whoever's reading this. You are hereby ordered, this is what's being said to him. You are hereby ordered to refrain from posting any and all material in any form without exception to any social media. So he's obviously violated that just by making this first post. In this context, the term social media shall be construed very broadly to include any medium by which you may share information with groups of people. It includes more traditional forms of social media, e.g., Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as non-traditional methods one might use to circumvent established social media, e.g., mass emails, group text messages, electronic bulletin boards. You are also prohibited from communicating through third parties or proxies. So they basically, what we would call this in the Navy is River City. They put him on River City. They've ceased his access, or they tried to. They didn't actually, but they tried to cease his access to mass communications, electronic communications, so he could stop putting out the word. This is one of the crazy things about being still active duty like he is. He is subject to basically all of these, you know, restrictions that can be put on him, including, you know, subjected to the use of force in order to enforce these restrictions. There's almost no limit to what the military can do if they are going so far as to say that this is bordering on traitor behavior, treasonous behavior, some kind of anti-government efforts. There's almost no limit to what they can do. So Stu goes on to say, what happens when you communicate an order that stipulates you to stop communicating? Remember, he says, I have only spoken truth. Another truth, we, capitalized, don't want our children abused in the same failed systems. The systems remain despite their repeated failures because key-holding hypocrites have safe haven within the system. Why not just get out and stay out? And why not just get out and say that, Stu? Why not stay quiet and work within the system? I don't know if he's referencing me when I made that video about saying that you could work within the system, and people, I mean, I'm getting death threats over here over that video. We say this to you, he says. We, capitalized we. And I want to reinforce that this is the second time that the word we is capitalized in this paragraph, and it's not the last in this paragraph. And the reason I'm making such a big deal about we being capitalized is because what have I been saying the entire time? His supporters are not real. His supporters are superficial at best, and they are not the people that he needs backing him up to make any actual change. And that's what I've been saying the entire time. And here we go. Let's go with, we say this to you. If you are making a difference on your current path, why is the Republic in decline? The apathetic American convinces himself to apply pressure in other ways only because he can't see the invisible chains. The key holders refuse to take accountability. Again, accountability without ever defining what accountability looks like when it is so obvious. They are unable or unwilling to do what is right. But we, capitalized, are not like the apathetic American. We, capitalized, have faith. We, capitalized, believe what you stand for can only be defined by what you're willing to risk. And again, I agree with almost everything that Stu Scheller says. He's right. Almost everything that he says is true up to this point, although we're about to get to some stuff that I don't agree with. But so much of what he says is true. I agree with it. He's right. All of his actions are wrong and misguided, and his supporters are not real. He says they need us, capitalized, scared. They need us, capitalized, silence. They need us, capitalized, divided. Fear, division, and ignorance facilitates control. We, anytime we or us is used, it's capitalized. I'll just leave that for this point forward. We, the people, are not Republican, Democrat, black, white, straight, gay, Christian, atheist, mask, no mask, police, community, Wall Street, Main Street, so on and so on. We are Americans. Adjectives are not required. Don't dim your light to walk into their darkness. Walk into their darkness and light shit up. Oh, that might give you some motivation right there. It might make the hair on your arm stand up until you find out what happens to him by the end of the story today. By the time we get to the end of the story, to the end of the Stu drops, you'll see how wrong he is and how, right we at the Scuttlebutt Show have been. President Trump, I was told by everyone to kiss the ring because of your following and power. I refuse. While I respect your foreign policy positions, I hate how you divided the country. I need you guys to remember this line. I hate how you divided the country. Remember that. Stick that into your brain. He says here, I hate how you divided the country in regards to Donald Trump. I don't need or want your help. You do not have the ability to pull us together. You may even win the next election, but your generation's time is running out. Tell your son to stop tweeting about me. Your whole family knows nothing about us or our sacrifices. Now, it's not clear who us and we are. He does say we're Americans. He says what we're not black, white, we're not straight, gay, we're not mask, no mask, we're Americans. But when he says us, what group exactly is he talking about? I'm not sure. I don't know. You guys can leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Tell your son to stop tweeting about me. Your whole family knows nothing about us or our sacrifices. I could never work with you. I could never work with you. Basically saying, he doesn't support Trump. I'd rather sit in jail and be released with a dishonorable than make compromises in my beliefs. Now that I do believe he means, because every step of this way, he has been throwing away everything in his life to speak out. So I believe him there 100%. There's no question in my mind that he means it when he says that. President Obama, great at speeches, obviously weak in any intestinal fortitude. President Bush Jr., great at speeches, obviously ignorant and thinking we could import democracy. President Clinton, great at bringing Congress together, obviously morally bankrupt. This includes his wife, Hillary Clinton. This part I found upsetting. I talked about this on Instagram yesterday. If you guys follow me over there, this is troubling to me. I don't think that this is appropriate at all. Honestly, he loses me here. General Mattis, the warrior monk. We all know you became a monk because you are gay. You guys, if you're listening on the podcast, I'm reading this. This is straight up the quote from Stu Scheller's Facebook page. Calling out General Mattis for being gay. He goes on to say, to be clear, my generation doesn't care about sexuality. We are better than that. Then why bring it up, Stu, in the first place? What's it got to do with anything? What's it got to do with anything? You brought to my infantry officer course 1-06, 1-06, depending on how you would call that, what can only be described as a female prop. It was uncomfortable for all of us. As soon as you left, we all knew you were a liar. We were young, but not stupid. Back then, don't ask, don't tell was still a policy. We understood why you lied. But as the policy was rescinded and we continued to hear the rumors, it bothered us that you kept up the lie. You weren't a monk, you were dishonest, and for all your talk about the 535 and counterinsurgency, can we go back and review the record? The academics you loved, you talked about reading books all the time. The only problem, you didn't win any wars. Maybe you should have read different books. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. Now, this is crazy. What he's saying here, if you guys didn't catch what he's getting at, he's saying that that General Mattis brought a woman that he pretended to be his spouse or girlfriend or whatever, but that actually he was hiding the fact that he's homosexual because don't ask, don't tell was still the policy and he didn't want to get in trouble. Now, this is actually the first I've ever heard about General Mattis being gay. I've never heard that, and I have no idea why he would go there to call out the character of Jim Mattis, whose character, in my opinion, based on what I know, and I'm always open to learning new things, so drop some knowledge on me, is a man of character. By all accounts, by everyone who's ever talked about him. He's a man of character. And when he disagreed with Donald Trump over the policy in Iraq regarding the Kurdish forces, when Donald Trump wanted to pull out of Iraq, sounds familiar to what happened in Afghanistan, he stepped down as SecDef. And he walked away quietly, which you can say is bad because he didn't stand up for the people or whatever it is. But it's what he was sworn by oath, by his beliefs with the Marine Corps to do. Okay, he disagreed with the leadership. He didn't step out of the chain of command. That's his life as a Marine, as a general. And he followed that. He followed in step, like I said earlier, with not breaking with the chain of command. He just said, I'm out. So I've never heard this, and I think it's kind of crazy that he would insinuate that. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. He goes on. General Petraeus, the counterinsurgency genius. We all know you went to Yale. We all know that you walked around the wars without PPE. Personal protective equipment. But what if you used that education to offer insight on the ineffective nature of counterinsurgency? 100%. Counterinsurgency was a terrible plan. You led Iraq and Afghanistan because you are such an influential leader. However, history demonstrated you didn't have the insight of George Bush Sr., who knew when to pull out of a military campaign once the objectives were achieved. History somehow forgot George Bush Sr.'s genius. He's calling George Bush Sr., one-term president, a genius. History somehow forgot about that. If you were half as smart as him, you would have recommended an inefficient withdrawal much sooner than the long wars you promoted. But that would have marginalized the theory of your genius, and without your celebrity, there are no adulterous escapades. I don't know why he's calling out him for not having any game or whatever it is, but he did have that affair with that reporter that became a big thing. General Flynn, and he apparently leaked, sensitive information over the course of that affair. If you guys remember that story. General Flynn, you gave interviews about me, pretending to understand me. You are the same as the rest. You were caught up in a lie. My generation is sick of your lies. We are not the same. Stop speaking my name as if you understand me. You could never understand us. PhDs teaching at military academies. Bill Lynn just wrote an article about my moral courage titled The View from Olympus, The Scheller Affair and Moral Courage. Let me be clear, Mr. Lind. Despite your contributions to the Marine Corps, you could never understand me, and my contempt for the academics who have attached themselves to the military machine runs deep. I will never relate to a person who refused to fight in the arena, yet feels entitled enough to offer opinions as if the lions should listen. Critics, Mr. Lind, General Berger's opinion matters more than yours, despite your condescending opinion towards him. Please let all the PhDs in the military education system know the same, and tell General Gray to get off the MCU stage. He had his turn. Maneuver warfare is outdated. It's not attrition versus maneuver. It's decentralization versus synchronization. And the critical question of where that balance occurs is the question you failed to address in the current version of MCDP-1. Marines all think decentralization should occur at the lowest levels despite a deeper understanding of how to maximize combat power, but I'm sure your generation of deep thinkers knew that. Again, here, he makes some comments that alienate his supporters because he says, I will never relate to a person who refused to fight in the arena. If you take that sentence alone, which goes on, there's a comma there. I will never relate to a person who refused to fight in the arena, comma, yet feels entitled enough to offer opinions as if the lion should listen. Well, Stu, I've been pointing out how many grandmas are on your LinkedIn and Facebook jocking your shit. Maybe you're talking about them. Maybe you're alienating them. Maybe they have sons and nephews and, nieces and daughters who fought in the military and now they love you. But if they never fought in the arena, do you not want to talk to them either? Because they're the ones all over your posts. They're the ones all over your posts and all over mine, leaving comments like I should go, walk off a bridge and stuff like that. I'm a coward. You just imagine, right? I'm getting those from the people that you just said you don't trust their opinion. To General Alford adjudicating my legal situation. When I briefed you in July, you said we have an entire generation of lieutenant colonels who don't know how to make decisions. They feel the need to ask permission. Ask Tom and Sung. They were there calling out some, first name, no last name here. So it's very directed at General Alford. My generation is sick of being bullied. Maybe my generation knows a little bit more than you think. We've watched you play politics for 20 years. You thought we were too stupid to learn. General Donovan, thanks for finishing my fit rep multiple months late as soon as I hit the news. Is it safe to assume you processed the report when I hit the news so that you don't look bad? It's about your optics. It's never been about us. But if you're angry, there's some grammar and stuff here, but we'll get to that in a second. But if you're angry about me speaking the truth, send your regimental commander to come find me again. You could have him repeat, if you interrupt me again, I'm going to fillet you. I will cut you in half. He's saying that the regimental commander said to him, this is a quote, if you interrupt me again, I'm going to fillet you. I will cut you in half. I'm going to work you like a slave. I'm going to work you like a dog. I'm going to work your dick into the dirt. Ask Lobo, another person he mentions, he was there for some of it. So he's saying he's getting this threatening language from superiors in the Marine Corps. I would just say, Stu, you've made some threatening comments as well, saying that you know how to conduct violence and, things like that. People are probably kind of over it, and this sounds like old school Marine Corps stuff that I feel like people love. Like, don't people love the old school Full Metal Jacket Marine Corps style? Did he tell me he could suck a golf ball through a garden hose? I mean, where are we at here? Task and Purpose. Despite your Task and Purpose, who we reference on the show sometimes, who wrote this article about how Stu doesn't have the legal authority to bring up charges through the UCMJ on these generals. Task and Purpose, despite your factually incorrect article about my legal right to prefer charges on General McKenzie, which still has been denied by the same people trying to hold me accountable, even after the news of the drone strike, you don't understand me. I do plan to bring the whole system down. Yes, Task and Purpose, I am brave enough to say it again. What say you now? But what happens when all you do is speak truth and no one wants to hear it? But they can probably stop listening because I'm crazy, right? So he's saying people are trying to write him off as crazy, but he's not. Colonel Emmel. Please have the MPs waiting for me at 0800 on Monday. I'm ready for jail. And there's a photo here of a chessboard. He plays white in his chess games because he made the first move. And there's two things on here. I mean, it looks like timestamps, but one says 1775, and that's not time. That's not how time works. There's no 75 minutes. And the other is 2021. So it's 1775, the year that the revolution began, and 2021, the current year, implying that there might be another revolution coming. And the only other thing I noticed about this is that on black side of the chessboard, the king is green. For whatever you guys want to make of that, you can go ahead and, analyze every move set up on this chessboard. I don't know enough about chess to speak smartly about it. But can we just talk about the officer privilege here to tell the MPs when to come arrest them? That's some 05 shit right there. No Lance Cooley is like, hey, honestly, I'm hungover as hell. It'd be better if you arrest me tomorrow morning. I don't think that's exactly. I mean, people do report to jail. People do report. But I think in this case, they're probably going to, if they're going to send MPs for Stu Scheller, they'll probably send them whenever they feel like, not whenever he tells them to come get them, is my theory there. That's some 05 privilege right there, like I said in the title of this video. I don't know how you think you can get away with that one. All right, so that's the first post of 3. Now, I need you guys to remember that stuff. I need you guys to remember that stuff about Trump. I need you guys to remember that stuff about if you didn't go into the arena, all that stuff. I need you guys to remember. Stu Scheller. This is Stu Drop 4. This is part 2. Part Stu Drop 4, part B, whatever you want to call it. However you guys want to do your outlines. Number 86. So he numbers his post, right? Number 86. America is at a critical crossroad in the evolution of the representative democracy. And I should add here, that was the first line there, but I'll add here, these all came out at the same time. All these posts came out in the same day. America is at a critical crossroads in the evolution of the representative democracy. Americans reflecting on their current government must consider a critical question that determines the fate of the current representative democracy. The critical question. He obviously uses current a bunch of times because he thinks that this is a right now situation. This is a right now, has to happen right now, immediate action. We know Stu Scheller believes in immediate action. He calls himself the only officer to be fired over the withdrawal in Afghanistan to date. And I pointed out that we still have people going down for Fat Leonard over 20 years ago. So to date, he may be, if that's true, I don't know every officer in the chain of command over Afghanistan, the only officer fired over the withdrawal in Afghanistan. But I think he is being a little, he's rushing. I think he's rushing to many of these judgments. Just something to think about. Does the current government still serve the interests of the people? If the people answer the critical question with yes, or the government doesn't require fundamental change, then the future follows a different path. Follow-up discussions would include, how do we work within the system to make the required changes? However, if the American people feel the answer to the critical question is no, or the government is so broken that fundamental change needs to occur, then the American people must evaluate the 4 options laid out by the founding fathers to make fundamental change. This is where it gets like really concerning to me, because I'll just read it. Step 4 here of his 4-part, question is, it's alarming. The 4 main branches laid out in sequence of extremism, navigating a new generation of thinkers through one of the 2 existing major parties. That's kind of where I went with my first video. building a new generation of thinkers in a smaller, pre-existing, nationally recognized third party. That's also what I said in the first video. Exercising Article 5 of the Constitution, which I would need to go back and remember what that is, or Part 4 here, revolution. And it just says revolution. And, you know, if you know anything about marketing, you give a bunch of no's, you know, no options, and then one good one so that people pick the good one. For him, the good one is revolution. The more radical the option, the more instability and unrest that will ensure following the event. However, if the government doesn't serve the interest of the people, it's the people's obligation to throw off the old form of government. All efforts should be exhausted at the lower levels before escalating the extremism. However, all 4 options, according to the American Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, are legally available to the people. Caveat. Cognitive distortion will occur when applying this line of thinking too quickly. If the people are angry, a mob mentality will lead them to a false sense of agreement. Interesting that he doesn't see himself in this mob mentality. He doesn't see himself having any of this, you know, rush to judgment, mob mentality, acting angrily or emotionally. The people must first agree as to why the government is failing before seeking change in unison. 5 reasons why the government is failing. Economic crisis. The current path is clearly unsustainable and will result in the collapse of the republic. Military employment failure. Failure to utilize the military in a manner that increases national power. The current military industrial machine is broken. You could make arguments in multiple directions with that. There's certainly things that are broken big time. I talk about them on the show all the time. Lack of accountability. Senior officials in the government and political establishment are allowed to abuse their power at the expense of the everyday American. Individual freedom encroachment. Abuses on American freedoms in the name of safety. Individual freedoms have deteriorated at an alarming rate due to centralization of power and false claims in the name of safety. Immigration policy failure. Failure to implement sustainable legal immigration policies. The current government is unable or unwilling to lay out a clear path forward without risk to the American people. And then it goes on to say here, and I did mention grammar earlier, in all fairness to Stu, it goes on to say here, edited by no one, informed by only me, and books, and Bud Light. Forgive the poor writing, authentic Americans. So you got to think, if he's admitting that he's writing these under the influence, there's got to be some you know, buyer's regret on this. There's got to be some, you know, drunk text regret. Like, oh, did I really send that last night? I haven't talked to her in years. Why would I do that? I made breakfast plans. I'm going on a hike. Are you kidding me? I'm going on a hike. I don't want to go on a hike. Who am I when I'm drunk? Who am I? I'm not. You know how they say you're just not you when you're hungry? I don't want to go on a hike. Why do I want to go on a hike when I get drunk? That makes no sense. So Stu's writing, he's drinking, he's writing. Do you think that if you're drunk, you're more likely to say something along the lines of, oh yeah, come pick me up at 8. I'm ready to go to jail. Do you trust somebody to lead you in a revolution who's saying that he's writing this stuff drunk? Does any of that make sense to anybody at all? I'm really asking. I'm really asking. Like, you got a guy here who is writing about not doing all the things that he's doing. He's calling for revolution. He's saying, come get me and put me in prison. And then he's saying that he doesn't like his own supporters because many of them, not all, by a long shot, but many of them are old women. We've got, go back, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to the other episodes on this. Just got on Facebook for the first time, and they're looking for a hero. All right? I'll say it. I'll say it. So, I don't know. It's just so crazy. But it gets better. It gets better. There's this third post, guys. There's this third part C of Stu Drop 4. Stu Drop 4-C. I need to refresh you guys on a couple things here, okay? This line, I hate how President Trump, I'm gonna do some, you know, editing here. I'm reading a quote, but I'm just skipping around the paragraph here. President Trump, I hate how you divided the country. I don't need or want your help, okay? And then later he says, I've got it right here. I will never relate to a person who refused to fight in the arena, yet feels entitled enough to offer opinions as if the lions should listen, okay? Well, that had people feeling a type of way, okay? Now, this is the moment where I go, Stu.
Well, duh.
This is what I said was going to happen. This is what I said was going to happen, okay? It was inevitable. Like Thanos, I am inevitable. He brought this on himself. If he was listening to the Scuttlebutt show, this would have never happened. We've got Stu Scheller 2 hours ago, just before the Scuttlebutt show starts. He says, to the people who stand with me, for my LinkedIn family, So he's completely bought in. He's completely bought in to these comments he's getting on his posts that's true support. I made a post yesterday that was too long for LinkedIn. On my longer Facebook post, I highlighted some hypocrisy within our current military and political leadership. Within that post, I spoke out against President Trump. I've had such a strong reaction to my comments against President Trump, I felt a follow-up clarification was required. No, President Trump didn't divide the country. Now, I just want to make sure I got this right. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. I hate how you divided the country, he said in his post. And then here he says, President Trump did not divide the country. Now, just to be sure, I want to go back one more time. I just want to read it one more time. It says, I hate how you divided the country. I just want to make sure I got every word correct. It says here, I hate how you divided the country. And then it says here, no, President Trump didn't divide the country. That's game over right there, you guys. For me, that's the end. Everything that Stu said about his own beliefs, being willing to go to prison over his own beliefs, fell apart after getting some mean comments on Facebook. And I get it. I get it. When I started this YouTube channel and taking it seriously, and I would get a comment, and it's like, you're trash, kid. And I'm like, am I? Damn it. I am trash. Oh, I'm the worst. I can't say anything. I'm so stupid. God, the internet doesn't like me. I'm never going to make it. I'm a failure. I should shut this channel down. These are thoughts that a normal person would have. When you get such strong criticism and you start to see this trend that he had tank over something he said. And then to immediately crumble and go back and just go, I didn't mean it. It's over. It is over. That's the end. As far as I'm concerned, that's the end. That one line is the end of taking Stu Scheller seriously. And the truth is, I don't feel as bad for him as I used to. I used to legitimately feel bad. I used to legitimately get sad over Stu Scheller. I would be, after the show, in private conversation with people, I'd be like, this guy seems like a great guy who is getting, motivated by these people on the internet to carry on this mission and lose everything for what? He's getting manipulated by people on the internet. But some of these comments that he's made recently really make me feel like I don't care anymore. And I just want to point something else out too. The way that he called everyone out in his last post, on his first Facebook post, the long one, by first name, including the people who are currently involved in the adjudication of his legal situation, that how many people who have been trying to help Stu did he throw under the bus publicly on his Facebook and LinkedIn profiles that we've covered here on the show? 10 people that he's put on blast who tried to give him outs? All F's are gone. I checked my front and back pockets, and there just weren't any in there. I checked in the kitchen, in the fridge, behind the milk. No F's there either. He just has completely burned every bridge including the bridge to his internet family, as he says. He goes on to say, no, President Trump didn't divide the country, but President Trump, in my humble opinion, look how carefully he's wording everything. I don't want to upset you guys. This is just my humble opinion here. You know, if you guys disagree, you're probably right and I'm probably wrong. Is incapable of bringing us back together. Did he expose the corruption in the Department of Justice, media, and other places? Yes. Was he the right person to expose the corruption at that time? Maybe. Is he honest, accountable, and full of integrity? No. So he's saying Donald Trump is not honest, accountable, and full of integrity. Would I want to work for a leader like that? No. I want a leader that will bring us together. Someone who has the courage to defend our country in the future. That type of person is the only leader who I want in my corner. I respect all opinions. I'm not asking you to agree with me, but to at least consider my perspective. Much love, Stu. Signed, Stu. How did he sign it? How did he sign his other post? Nothing. Hashtag authentic Americans. The last words in his previous post were hashtag authentic Americans. The last word in his other post on Facebook, very respectfully, us. In his apology for speaking his opinion, which is literally what he said he would never do, he goes, Stu, much love. Much love? 348 likes, 97 comments. To put it in perspective, we've just been covering the downward trend of his momentum on social media. He's willing to go to jail for the rest of his life, give up millions of dollars in retirement, and give up his family to demand accountability over Afghanistan withdrawal. But the second that he says something bad about Trump, or not even bad, but just not, you know, showering him in compliments, and the internet turns on him, and he goes and he steps back because he sees now what we all knew all along, which if you don't pander, and this is ultimately the problem with politics in general and politicians, and this is the part that's our fault. This is the part that's our fault, okay, as citizens, is that if somebody doesn't pander directly to us, doesn't tell us exactly what we want to hear, we kick them out, kick them into the dumpster. So long, we thought you were the guy. We did. We thought you were the guy, but you're not. Unfortunately, we wanted you to be, but you're not. It's over, Stu. It's over. Now is the moment to clean this up. If you can, if it's possible, start cleaning things up. Take any outs you got at this point. Take any out you got. You said something bad about Trump. Who do you think is supporting you? Who do you think had your back? Who do you think was posting, tell us when and where? And we're there. They don't care about you. If there's one agenda that they care about, and it's Trump's. And you messed up, man. You stepped in it this time. Everything that you had done up to this point effectively was erased by you saying negative comments about Trump and then trying to walk him back. Because in doing so, you lost both sides. You lost the side that is in the cult, and you lost the side that thinks that you stand up for your values above all else. You lost both. And that's the scuttlebutt on that. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'd love to hear it. I would love to hear it in the comments. In my opinion, this is the end for Stu Scheller.